Thank you, Kate.
Yeah,
That good energy.
That's the right energy.
Yeah. Welcome to Culture Craft, the show where we look at creators throughout history, the culture that created them, and the culture that they helped create.
Ooh, that's better.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's smoother. I love it.
I am a human being.
Yeah.
Named David.
Okay.
With no idea what is happening.
All right.
My name's Ellie, and I also don't know what's happening. That's not a new feeling for me, though.
And my name is Ian, and I am the host of this episode. I know some things. Yes. I read a book and then a little bit of a bunch of other books.
Do you know some things that were, some things that are, and some things that have not yet
come to pass? I'm nowhere near as hot as she is, and I never will be, and that sucks to know.
That
has sucked to know for 20 years.
People ever on the planet.
I know.
Who will be as hot as she is.
Yeah, they're all in that movie.
They're all in that
Sir
movie.
Ian McKellen.
Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
And Samwise
Gamgee. We're not talking about Collateral.
Those are the only two people as hot as Collateral.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. Sam is peak ideal male form.
Yeah, he really is.
Absolute.
Yeah.
Absolute Chad.
So what's going on this week? What's new?
Oh, I should have thought of something beforehand. I thought you were going to start with
I got a thing, because spring starts this week, and we've been enjoying sunshine finally in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to record last night, and why didn't we record? We got a St. Patrick's Day snowstorm, and it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so not, I can't with the snow anymore. I need it to be done.
It's the classic Pittsburgh where it goes from being 70 degrees one day to 20 degrees.
It really did.
The next day.
Yeah.
The morning of the snowstorm, I was like, okay, where are boxes to pack up the coats? Because I'm from Florida and I'm an idiot. And so I was like, I can pack them up and then we won't need them again until after we move to the new house. And yet then that very afternoon, I was like, well, let me go get them and put them back on.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, should we just get into it then?
I think we do.
I do want to say one admonition to the United States Post Office.
Yeah.
We sent wedding invitations
January 16th.
and people have gotten them. Some people got theirs yesterday.
Yep.
People who are listening won't know how long that took, but more than 2 months.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Incredible.
Yeah.
An incredible.
My mom keeps being like, it's like the Philippines again.
Yeah. I don't.
Which is uncalled for.
Yeah. People get them and they're like, it's postmarked in January. Like, I believe that you put it in the mail then. It's just.
That's just really annoying.
It just took this long to get here.
Okay, we're going to get started now because this is going to be a chunky sode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I found Excalibur this week, but we don't need to get into it.
We simply don't have time.
We don't have time. We'll talk about that another time maybe.
What was it doing?
If it turns out to be important.
Sweet.
Was she submerged?
She was in a lake.
Yeah.
And she was not interested in me being there. She kind of just threw it at me to get me to leave.
Yeah.
I just really appreciate that you know that Excalibur is not the sword in the stone, that those are different swords. Because most people assume they're the same sword. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
That's all. Sword stuff. Ellie's favorite. All right. I'm going to take a page out of Ellie's book, and we're going to start by closing our eyes.
Oh.
I'm so into this. This is such a good idea. I'm really going to participate.
This is a guided meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. Deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose. Now, using your mind's eye, I want you to hold out your hands and look at your fingers. Spread out your hands. I do want you to physically do that, but don't open your eyes. And just spread. Turn them to you're facing your palms. You both did it the same way. And I want you each to pick a number between 6 and 10 in your head. You got that number?
Mm-hmm.
That's how many fingers you have left.
Mm.
Oh.
Okay? Your back hurts. You've been standing in the same position for the past 9 hours. You've got another 5 to go before your 14-hour shift ends. The air is thick with oil, dust, and metal shavings. Sparks fly in every direction. Rhythmic slamming deafens your left ear from the presses further up the line. You feel them in your chest. You want to move and stretch your limbs and your back, but you can't go far. Your job is to stay right there where you are, in one place, along the long assembly line at the Ford Motor Company River Rouge complex. The enormous citywide facility in Detroit was the realization of Henry Ford's wettest of dreams: vertical integration. A single facility replete with its own docks, its own electrical power station, integrated steel mill, railroad track, gas plant, and much more. The River Rouge complex brought in raw materials from all over the world and churned out 4,000 vehicles a day. But for you, standing in line with thousands of other laborers, all you see are the 4 bolts on the wheels that roll by on the line. You have 6 seconds. There are 4 bolts per wheel. Other people take care of the rest. All you have are those 6 seconds and those 4 bolts. You know, waiting outside.
And those 8 fingers.
Nice. If you want to open your eyes, you can now. Actually, no, close them again. You know, waiting outside the 2,000-acre complex gates is a mob of eager workers ready to take your job. It's 1932 after all, and everyone is desperate. You're being paid 40 cents an hour, and if you slow down, you'll be yanked off the line and hot swapped with a sweaty Italian in seconds. The clock ticks slowly. You're finally in the 10th hour of your shift, but all you feel is dread. You know who today's foreman is, and he's got quotas to fill, nay, exceed, and he is about to bring about his favorite part of his day, the dreaded speed up. Sure enough, the line gets faster, just enough that a complete Model T could be fully produced in an unbelievable 93 minutes and roll off the lot under its own power. Previously, it took 12 and a half hours to make a single vehicle, and this Herculean accomplishment in industry is why the automobile became affordable to everyday Americans. You're proud of that achievement. You're proud to have steady work in these crazy times. But remember those 6 seconds? Now you have 4. You remember the last time your hand got stuck. Fear and panic setting in as the assembly line took you with the wheel you were working on. Your finger broke in a second. The car rounded a bend, and it was more economical to yank yourself loose than to slow down the production. You wrenched yourself free, down another bloody digit. When that unit reached the end, your finger would be plucked free of the body of the car and unceremoniously dropped in the finger bucket.
This that job.
This has happened to you multiple times. But hey, at the end of all of this, you can rest easy knowing that the richest man in the world just got a little bit richer. And maybe you can buy a loaf of bread on your way home. Okay, you can open your eyes. Was that restful?
I feel great.
Okay, good.
I want to know how you get the finger bucket job.
Yeah, I think it's whoever was last on the assembly line had to pluck the fingers out before they rolled it out.
It seems like that's the safest job. Like you're going to be scarred.
Yeah.
You get to keep all the fingers you find.
If that's the only part of your job.
I don't know what they did with them. They were an industrious bunch. I'm sure they were repurposed in some way. Well, okay. The guy who designed all of that, as you know, was Henry Ford. He was a real bastard of a man. And I don't really want to talk about rich bastards very much. Who am I kidding? That's all I talk about. But for the same purposes of this podcast, everyone already knows what he did. So today, we're going to focus on another man. A man who experienced firsthand the horrors of the industrial workplace, a man who felt deep pride and dignity in the skill of his labor and the sacrifice of his brothers and sisters on the line, and also a man who realized that if every single person in that hellscape simply decided to sit the hell down and refuse to get back up again, they could bring one of the most powerful men in the world to his knees. I will introduce you to Walter Reuther. Do either of you know who Walter Reuther is?
No. I feel like I should, though.
That's a fine looking gentleman.
Yeah, he's so nice looking.
My guys usually have so much more hair.
Yeah. He's just like a buddy. He looks like just a pal, a real pal.
He looks like he could host a good game show.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he was very charismatic for sure. Very kind eyes. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start by reading 3 quotes about the man Walter Reuther would become. Quote, "More than anyone else in America, you stand out as the shining example of democratic trade unionism. Through your trials, efforts, and your unswerving devotion to humanitarian causes, you have made life more meaningful for millions of working people." Skipping ahead because it's a long-ass quote. "As I have heard you say, the true measure of a man is where he stands in moments of challenge and controversy, when the only consolation he gains is the quiet whisper of an inner voice, saying that there are things so eternally true and significant that they are worth dying for. One day, all America will be proud of your achievements and will record your work as one of the glowing epics of our heritage." That was said by Martin Luther King Jr.
Holy
Aw.
shit.
He was wrong, though. Nobody
He was
talks
wrong.
about
No one
this
remembers this guy. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Second quote.
A man wrong about so many things.
Oh, Jesus. That's
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Needed to be
so
said.
brave in saying that.
Just immediately taking an anti-MLK Jr. stance.
Oh boy. Early. We're a fledgling show. We can't be taking shots like that.
Great.
Unless you want to join the manosphere, I guess.
No, oh my gosh.
Second quote. Walter Reuther is the most dangerous man in Detroit because no one is more skillful in bringing about the revolution without seeming to disturb the existing forms of society. That was said by some guy named George Romney, who was part of the United Auto Workers. And finally, quote, that man is a rat bastard commie, I swear to Christ. J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
Yes.
Note, that last one is heavily paraphrased, which probably renders it not a quote at all. Okay. So Walter Reuther is one of these guys that is all over the place, advancing social movements across the country from the mid-1930s until his death in 1970, which makes it very challenging to come up with a focal point for this episode, and I didn't want to just go on and on. But since we're Culture Craft and we like to talk about the lasting impact of things people innovated and designed, then I think a worthy tale for us to tell is going to be this. Title, I forgot to make a visual for this, Walter Reuther versus the Big Three. Subtitle, how a socialist, definitely not a communist, but also maybe at one point a communist, managed to tackle the three biggest car manufacturers and bring them to the table. General Motors, Chrysler, and finally, the mother-fording Ford Manufacturing Company. Walter's achievements gave us a blueprint, and by us, I mean regular working folk, not podcasters. It also gave us long-lasting workers' rights that people take for granted today, i.e., women should not be docked pay by virtue of being women.
Disagree.
Even though they're gross and have periods and stuff.
Yep.
Workers' wages should be increased to reflect a rise in cost of living. Also, the idea that contracts negotiated in one company can serve as a template for an entire industry and economy. Also, that there should maybe be some kind of safety standard enforced universally across workplaces.
I think if you lose a finger, your boss gets the finger.
That's fair. Fair's fair.
This is radical. Like these are, I disagree with all of them.
Okay.
I'm part of the manosphere now, so
Yeah.
as of about 3 minutes ago.
We
so.
know who's paying the
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
We're taking a pause here to talk about vitamin.
Antler horn powder.
Yeah.
You put it under your tongue and your dick gets big, but your balls get really small. So what we are going to focus on today is my favorite of his designs, strikes and how to do them. How do workers break the will of their evil overlords? Okay, we start with Walter's father, Valentin Reuther. It's a great name. Valentin emigrated from Germany to the United States in the late 1800s at age 11. The Reuther family landed in Wheeling, West Virginia, and eventually Valentin wrangled a job at one of Wheeling's ironworks. You're shaking your head at West Virginia.
No, I'm taking my head as an immigrant. I told you. I hard turn.
You really pivoted hard. Oh my
At
God.
the beginning of the episode.
Okay, well, he got a job at one of Wheeling's ironworks as a night shift laborer, earning $1.50 a day. And a few months later, made the move to the big money as a heater in the rolling mill. And a heater was considered skilled work, which made him eligible to join the Amalgamated Association of Iron, Steel, and Tin Workers of the Homestead Strike fame. He was a faithful unionist, and unfortunately, when the Amalgamated called an unsuccessful strike at the ironworks in 1902, he lost his well-paying job. The strike was hardly as dramatic as the Homestead strikes. Dave, do you want to fill in the non-locals about that?
Everything went great. Everything was going perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Clay Frick was running just a perfect ship.
Yeah.
And a bunch of greedy sociopaths and has not been reported enough. A lot of women in the community
Yeah.
all manipulated them.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, point is, Pinkertons were involved.
Yeah.
There's a gunfight. The strikers win, which was the coolest shit in the world. The Pinkertons try to storm the Homestead Mill at 3 a.m. by taking a barge up the Allegheny River. Or is it the Mon? It's the Mon.
It's the Mon.
The strikers get word and there are flares sent up. So they set up an ambush. There's a firefight at the dock. The Pinkertons are driven back. The strikers think they won. The governor of Pennsylvania eventually calls in the National Guard. The leaders of the strike are like, we should welcome the National Guard in. They're definitely going to be on our side.
Yeah.
Super weren't.
Yeah.
And then
cannons were fired. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
It's a fascinating thing. And I would love to talk about it on the show, but it doesn't necessarily have a singular.
Well, we'll do it.
We have a solution for that.
Yeah. We'll do it in one of the roundups.
One of the roundup episodes. One of the roundups.
Which now maybe we're calling it roundup episodes, but you can
I think we should. I want to call it culture critter.
One of the culture critters.
Critters? Are they going to be about
animals?
Critters
or Crittercraft?
Crittercraft.
This is different.
The critter is
they're little.
Yeah.
They're small.
Oh, I see.
Okay, we'll workshop it.
Is Frick the one who beat a guy who tried to assassinate him at his?
He was shot and then stabbed with a poison dagger in his office. He reached over his desk and grabbed Alexei something, I forget his last name, and beat him nearly to death with his cane.
Yeah.
Finished his work day.
Yeah.
And then walked to the hospital.
He is, and it cannot be stressed enough, one of the biggest pieces of
he's a demon.
He lived because it's just like the poison got in his blood, and the poison was like, we need to get the
He's a demon.
Beautiful park, though.
Okay. So the underlying issues were much the same. The workers fought a losing battle to preserve a world in which skilled workmen commanded the respect of their employers and control of their work. The experience of being put back on his ass instilled in Val an appreciation of the value of skilled autonomous work, which he would instill in his 4 sons, all of whom eventually secured the kind of work that he would forever find just beyond his reach. Fortunately, Val was a German and was involved, therefore, in a German singing society. No. And you can always count on Germans to want one thing.
Or
beer.
Land.
Good beer. What I'm getting at is that Val eventually landed an unskilled and low-paying job as a beer wagon driver. And while he was never able to command higher rates again, the work was steady and allowed him to meet the woman he would soon marry.
At a certain point, you have to you have to look, is it worth sacrificing, making a little bit more money to do something that you truly enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a lot of fulfillment.
Something that you're passionate about.
Singing in a beer wagon.
Yeah, it's good. Up there. And he met, quote, the red-haired 22-year-old daughter of a skilled Swabian wagon maker. There was no reason to include that quote other than I find it really charming. Okay.
Wait, I can picture the 1990s romance cover of him and that
the beer wagon driver.
Yeah. I feel like the word buxom should be in there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
That's good. It's real good.
Yeah. There's also always this moment of terror before you get to the age of the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
How inappropriate.
This is early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's late 1800s. I forgot. I meant to say this earlier. I'm going to be heavily quoting from the book. I have references at the end, but the book, The Most Dangerous Man in Detroit. Okay. Anna worked in the kitchen of a saloon where Val delivered the beer. The two of them had 4 boys and a girl. Theodore, Walter, Roy, Victor, and Christine, who we will never talk about again.
Because of what importance could she possibly be?
She did nothing. The boys worked together on everything, you'll see. But the girl, we never hear about Christine again.
Certainly.
So the family lived in a rough section of Wheeling called Ritchietown, where railroad tracks and mine shafts commingled with the frame houses occupied by Wheeling's Polish and German laborers. How do you feel about them? Here, the Reuther kids knew all the dangers and pleasures of a poor boy's childhood. Secondhand clothes, odd jobs around the neighborhood, chancy swims across the broad Ohio River, dangerous experiments with fireworks and gunpowder.
It's really the Irish and Italians that I'm mostly upset about.
We can't. Yeah. Okay, at least let me get through the family. Valentine's Valentine's socialist bent was not subtle. As soon as the boys were old enough, he would take them to labor and union meetings. The dinner table became a sparring ground for debates, and they were all avid readers at their father's encouragement. There's a plenty of stories we could talk about, but I'm going to pick two notable anecdotes that give us a sense of the environment and culture that Walter was influenced by. Number one, Eugene Debs was the leader of the Socialist Party of America. He ran very unsuccessfully for president of the United States 5 times. He was a labor champion and a unionist in the railroad industry.
Does it remind you of anybody in our contemporary
Don't have time. Well, anyway, he encouraged unions to speak out against the
Hillary
draft.
Clinton.
Yeah, that's who I meant.
Just-
Gosh, hate that woman. I'm sorry.
That's not even like alt right, Ellie. That's just
that's most of the country. Well, anyway,
what's wrong with you.
yeah, I'm derailed. He
He
Okay.
ran unsuccessfully for president 5
Yeah.
times.
So he encouraged unions to speak out against the draft during World War I, and that netted him 10 counts of sedition. Fun anecdote within the anecdote. His trial defense called no witnesses, asking that Debs be allowed to address the court in his own defense. That unusual request was granted, and Debs spoke for 2 hours. He was found guilty on September 12th. At his sentencing hearing on September 14th, he again addressed the court, and his speech became a classic. Haywood Brown, who was a liberal journalist and not a Debs partisan, said it was, quote, one of the most beautiful and moving passages in the English language. He was, for that one afternoon, touched with inspiration. If anyone told me that tongues of fire danced upon his shoulders as he spoke, I would believe it. Debs was sentenced on September 18th to 10 years in prison and was disenfranchised for life. It didn't work. Debs received lots of visitors in jail, including and especially Valentine Reuther. On one occasion, Val took Victor and Walter to see him and spoke to and about him with reverence. And Walter noted the deep sadness in his father when he said, quote, how could they put a man that gentle and kind behind bars?
Oh, remind me, what is his connection to Debs? What's Valentine's connection
He's
to
just
Debs?
a fan.
Okay.
Debs was a socialist leader, and Valentine, this ran deep, and he wanted his boys to be exposed to this, so they went and visited him in jail. Now, anecdote number 2. There's a story about how the Reuther boys witnessed a group of neighborhood kids throwing stones at black families who were boarding open railway cars. They had to travel in cattle cars because of Jim Crow laws. To be clear, the Jim Crow law wasn't that they could only ride in cattle cars, so they weren't allowed to ride in the other cars, and that often left just open air cars. Awful. Val gave them a stern warning to never treat another human being like that, which clearly stuck with them because all 4 of the Reuther boys would spend some part of their careers fighting for racial equality. I don't know what the sister did. We don't care. She probably was awful. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on.
Forgotten hero.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that to be the bent for this episode. From you
It
two.
shouldn't be.
It's ridiculous.
This is like a beautiful story of modernism and equality.
I just want to
and-
say how cool it would be for your dad to be like, we're going to go visit Eugene V. Debs
Yeah,
in prison.
And yeah.
A kick-ass field trip.
Yeah.
It was a good flex knowing his middle initial there.
Yeah, no.
All right, we're moving on. When Walter was still in school, Val moved a beer bottle, which exploded and took out his left eye. He survived, but he couldn't work and spiraled into a sullen depression.
He couldn't
And
deliver beer?
he was recovering.
So sorry.
He was recovering.
Get a job.
Fucking pussy.
Incredible. So the elder 3 boys left school in search of work to support the family. Ridiculous. Walter's first serious job was at the Wheeling Corrugating Company. This is where he learned the craft that would shape the early part of his life, die making. It was incredibly complex work, designing the molds that could stamp metal into shapes to make all kinds of things. It required precision, a deep understanding of metallurgy, mathematics, and not getting killed by huge machines. Walter turned out to be extremely good at it. He worked in Wheeling Corrugated for several years, developing his skills and also following in the family tradition of being horribly injured at work. One of the massive dies they were constructing slipped and sheared off his big toe.
Oh.
He was 17. Walter.
Big toe is a hard one to lose.
Yeah.
Especially with like your virgin toe.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he's 17. That's like a big, yeah. And he was like, he really liked athletics, and it really messed him up. He didn't really have time for anything though. He had to leave high school to work, but he was making good money and was learning the trade. And he soon realized about 2 years later that his skill set would make him kind of a hot commodity elsewhere in the world. And if you wanted to work in the automotive industry, which he very much did in 1927, there was nowhere better to be than in
Detroit,
correct.
what? Where? Why? What's going on there?
Well, we'll find out.
Motown.
We'll find out.
Oh, Diana Ross.
Yeah. Diana
No,
Ross.
it has nothing to do with the cars. It just is nowhere to be that's better than Detroit because Diana Ross.
Because Diana Ross
Yeah.
Is going to be there.
Is going to be eventually be there. Yeah.
Eventually.
Don't think
Several
she's there
decades.
yet.
Yeah.
No.
So Walter drove there and literally argued his way into securing a job as an expert tool and die maker at the Ford Motor Company. This position typically required 25 years of experience, and he was 19 years old. This was only possible because of two reasons. One, he was genuinely good enough to be able to decipher and improve upon the blueprints that the foreman happened to be holding while trying to shoo him out of the facility.
All right.
That's great.
And two, Henry Ford in 1927 decided to, which is that year, or a little before, decided to retire the Model T and switch everything over to producing the Model A, which meant that they were in desperate need of dies and new dies that could produce the new design. Barely any of the previous equipment specifically tailored to make exactly and only the Model T could be appropriated. So right time, right place, right skill set. Walter worked there for 6 years. He juggled 10 to 14-hour shifts alongside going back to high school to get his degree. Eventually, he could afford a bigger apartment, and his brothers, Victor and Roy, moved in with him.
I thought you were going to say you could afford a bigger toe.
Yeah, bigger toe.
I
He
know.
could have just made it.
Yeah. I just keep looking over that man and being like, doesn't have all his toes.
Yeah. Walter was joined by Victor and Roy, and the brothers remained super close. You're going to hear me talk about them, all of them. And it's really cute that they all, in their young adulthood, lived together in Detroit. Walter was pressured into joining the Freemasons. With the rise of the Great Depression by his other coworkers.
Oh, I see.
The Masons had a reputation for looking out for their own. And with the rise of the Great Depression and mass layoffs, it was worth considering. Walter very reluctantly put up with the weird rituals and oaths required to join the organization, despite being very outspoken about their blatant anti-Semitism and active racism toward Black workers. The membership saved him from the first few waves of mass layoffs, and Walter was able to invest enough money to buy a handful of properties.
I once accidentally broke into a Masonic temple.
How?
Well, we drove up to it, and then we walked in.
Yeah.
There was a door.
And it wasn't
locked, and then we were just wandering around being like, oh, look, we're in.
But did you see anything cool?
And then there were a whole bunch of people in there because they had a meeting, and then we freaked out and left.
Oh, it was open because people were in it.
Yeah. But we broke it.
They would have done horrible things to you.
Probably. I've seen eyes wide shut.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I bet you could have fit in.
Yeah, you're the right color palette.
And I have the right belief.
We can't stay here. We started here and we're staying.
It's Ellie's fault.
It is Ellie's fault.
She put us in here. She set the vibe for the whole episode.
Oh my God. Okay. So Walter was frugal and smart, and his brothers actually accused him of drifting from his socialist ideals because he could afford to imagine a beautiful trajectory for his life as a skilled worker.
There's nothing more socialist than accusing other socialists of drifting.
Of drifting, yeah.
Because you had one thought.
Yeah. He loved his work and he was good at it, and he was young. So he had a very promising career. He had a 25-year jump on everyone else at his level. Skilled laborers like him were often afforded tremendous upward mobility within Ford Motor Company. Several foremen and even a vice president came from his die shop. So he was comfortable and he was successful. But as this Depression layoffs racked the U.S. at large, and Detroit especially, Walter's brothers kept exposing him to the brutal realities of the working poor. So with some encouragement and coordination with his brothers, Walter helped organize a rally for Norman Thomas, who was running for president of the U.S. under the Socialist Party of America. Ford fired him immediately. Immediately lost everything for having that kind of connection, which kicked Walter into the next phase of his life. Walter and his brother Victor, who was also a skilled laborer, decided to take the opportunity to realize a childhood dream and tour the world. They knew that when Henry Ford retired production of the Model T, he sold all the equipment and the production mechanisms to the Soviet Union. And there was a huge demand for American workers who knew how to operate that equipment. So the two of them embarked on a 3-year adventure and biked their way through Europe.
We need to take a long to dissect ultra capitalist Henry Ford.
Yeah.
selling the molds for the Model T
to
the Soviet
Union. Yes, correct.
He probably was so hard.
Yeah. Just rock hard.
He's like, I'm getting these comics to buy my old shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
At fair market price.
More. Yeah. Probably a lot more. The big markup. But okay. So, and he did that, by the way, because Chrysler and GM were finally edging him out. Like the Model T just wasn't keeping up anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a huge undertaking and a big deal. Okay. First, they bicycled their way through Europe. They spent a lot of time in Germany on their way, and they eventually landed in Gorky in the Soviet Union, where they spent 2 years working in an auto plant there, where the unheated factories often fell to 30 to 40 degrees below zero.
What?
Reuther was openly critical and wrote several angry letters to the Moscow Daily News, which were promptly thrown in the garbage.
They all just consisted of "I'm cold."
Yeah. No, he would
Stop
wax
it.
poetic, like he was they would just practice oration,
Yeah.
He was often very critical, and he wrote these letters criticizing how the communists were operating their plans.
This is the early 30s at this point?
Late 20s still.
Late 20s?
Yeah. Into early 30s.
I thought you said depression layoffs.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm so sorry. I mixed it up with when Ford sold it to Union, which was 1927. Yeah, early 30s. I'm sorry.
Lenin is dead.
Yeah, almost Stalin, I think. Stalin is in charge now. So they then spent another, because part of the reason that happened was because Stalin massively ramped up industrialization of the Soviet Union. And that was a big part of it, was getting the stuff. Yeah.
Don't need heat in those factories.
Exactly. So they then spent another year traveling, going through Turkey, Iran, British India, and eventually Japan. But back home, their brother Roy was deeply involved in organizing auto worker labor efforts and would write them with updates about the increasingly desperate working conditions and pay. Walter and Victor decided to book passage on a steam engine back home from Japan. And Walter would write of their world tour that it taught he and Victor that all people long for the same basic human goals of a job with some degree of security, greater opportunity for their children, and of course, freedom. We felt we could make a contribution by helping American workers build strong democratic labor unions, and that's why we went into the labor movement. The Reuther boys returned to the U.S. with a fire in their bellies. They had witnessed firsthand in their travels through Germany the rise and consolidation of power of the Nazi Party. And who was the Nazis' first target? What did they go after first?
Dogs.
No. What was the first thing they destroyed?
Dogs.
Artists.
Trade unions. What is the topic of this episode? The first thing they did was dismantle trade unions.
I don't think. I feel like they were called socialists. It's in their name.
No, not they did. A lot of those trade unions were super conservative.
I revised my answer. I think the answer is commies.
Again, a lot of them were very conservative.
Commies.
Oh, no,
Al?
the Nazis were a
Dirty commies. For 500, please.
Okay.
No, they went after
Who's Al?
Who were dirty commies for 500, Al?
Okay.
That's my answer.
No, trade unions. On the other hand,
There's a poem about it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
We're doing great.
On the other hand, they had been disillusioned by the communist control of labor in the Soviet Union. State-owned production had led to pitiful and dehumanizing conditions for workers, with no recourse or opportunity to advocate for themselves. Meanwhile, back home, armies of men and women walked the streets looking for work. If you were lucky enough to have a job, you were exploited beyond belief. See our speed-up meditation story. You were wrung dry and replaced with another worker and less a few limbs. At this time, the United Auto Workers was a fledgling union. This is, again, 1930s, with only a few thousand members nationally. At age 29 now, Walter and his brothers saw that there was strength in numbers, so they encouraged a group of weak unions to band together and sign on under the UAW umbrella. And this formed the UAW Local 174, with Walter as its first president. At that point, organizing auto workers meant confronting the most powerful corporations in the country. The American automobile industry was dominated by three giants, who we called the Big Three. Again, Ford Motor Company, General Motors, and Chrysler. These companies weren't just large, they were economic empires. Entire cities depended on them for jobs. They controlled supply chains, political influence, and had enormous financial resources. And they were fiercely opposed to unions. Walter and his colleagues understood that traditional strikes, where workers walked out of the factory and protested outside, often gave the companies the advantage because there was so much demand for work, they could just replace them.
Mm-hmm.
There was very little leverage in those activities. So Walter proposed something new. Their first target would become the Kelsey Hayes Wheels Company, which produced...
Bad name.
I think you can see how they got it. Kelsey and Hayes. They produced wheels and brake drums, and their biggest client was the Ford Motor Company. They chose this target for 3 reasons. 1, they had a relatively small workforce, 5,000 employees roughly. 2, it had a core of staunch union activists working there already. And 3, because they knew the looming giant of Henry Ford would most likely be able to put pressure, making them more likely to break. So Victor Reuther, Walter's brother, and 2 of their friends got jobs in Kelsey Hayes Department 49, and they got to work. They organized picket shifts and formed committees to store and distribute food to workers and their families, all done in secret. They knew the companies had spies attend every union rally, so the location and time of their plan was held a closely guarded secret. With the organizers in position, all they needed was a spark, and they found it in the form of a young woman who months before had fainted during one of these notorious speed-ups. On December 10th, 1936, amidst yet another speed-up, the young woman very loudly and publicly and obviously fainted again. And Victor immediately...
She was probably just on her period.
Oh my God.
I think it was a false flag.
Yeah, that's why women shouldn't be.
Yeah, actually.
And what sucks is she is pretending this time, and this fictional narrative you're creating is evidence of false flag operation. Yeah. So Victor immediately threw the main switch, which halted the production line. The workers shouted that they had enough of these speed ups and were going on a strike, and they refused to work again until the management team met with one man, Walter Reuther, who no one knew who that was yet. There were
so why didn't Victor
was a worker and just threw it, and they said, okay, you got to meet with our union rep or we're not going to do this again. Union leader.
Okay.
Yeah. So Walter was kind of he couldn't be there in the moment because there had to be a degree of separation from the workers.
Okay, that makes sense.
They were kind of like bigging him up. Initially, the management saw their coordinated determination and canceled the second shift for the day and agreed to host formal negotiations with the local 174 in the morning. The workers went home jubilant, and that day alone, over 1,000 new members joined their group. Previous to that, they had 30 members.
Wow.
Officially, union-paying members, yeah.
Nicely done.
But the management team, of course, began to stall and change their mind and refused to meet with them. They reached out to workers privately and attempted to bribe them to return to work and not support and to support the company instead.
We can pay you more, obviously.
Yeah, that was never a question. We just don't want to. So on Monday, December 14th, a sit-down strike was called. 500 men and women sat down in 2 different plants and simply refused to move, which literally halts production instead of just leaving. The network of unions monitored closely and caught wind of multiple planned assaults on the strikers. And every time union brothers and sisters swarmed the plants and chased off the strikebreakers, shouting, "Throw the scabs out." The strikes benefited this time from, or perhaps atypically, the strikes benefited from local police agencies and politicians who happened to agree that the workers had every right to be there as employees and had entered the buildings legally.
That has to be the only time that's ever happened.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a few more strikes. It's the only time it happened. As the days wore on, pressure mounted on Kelsey Hayes, and an emergency meeting was held in Henry Ford's office. And there, a man named Harry Bennett. Do you know that name? Well, we're going to talk about him later on. He threatened to take Ford's business elsewhere. So on Christmas Eve, the local 174 reached a settlement with Kelsey Hayes. It called for 75 cents an hour base pay, equal pay for female workers, a 20% reduction in the speed of the line, and several structural changes that ensured elected union members served as a committee to govern the workers. It was a huge success, and it was a turning point. Victor Reuther wrote in his book titled The Brothers Reuther, that, quote, everyone sensed a new era had begun for auto workers. Within 10 days, the local 174 grew from 78 members to more than 3,000. So sorry, 78, not 30. And our phone was ringing constantly with requests from other unions for support. Quote, send us some soup and sandwiches. We're sitting on strike. Only hours after the settlement was reached, the Reuther brothers drove to Flint, Michigan with their next target in sight, General Motors. Now, the UAW had already had some people there. And one of the organizers of the soon-to-be infamous Flint sit-down strike was a UAW rep, again, that's United Auto Workers, named Henry Krause. And to put this all into context in terms of why this matters, I'm going to quote from Henry Krause about the Flint GM plant. Quote, it was the heart and nerve center of the vast combine, creators of fortunes, incomparable benefactor to the chosen few, prize milk cow of America's most patrician family, the DuPonts, whose 10 million shares of General Motors stock assured them a 1/4 cut of the corporation's unabating profits. Whatever happened in this central city of the corporation, in this nondescript, oversized village, reverberated throughout the financial capitalists of the nation. They employed the same tactic: isolate a critical part of the infrastructure, cripple it, and let the pressures of a bigger bad force capitulation. In this case, the DuPont family. Roy Reuther took the lead here and Roy is one of his other brothers, the one who didn't get to travel and have a fun 3-year experience. He began meeting with union auto workers in their homes secretly, knowing GM had an extensive spy network and was already keeping the existing UAW president under literal 24/7 surveillance, manned surveillance. He was followed everywhere he went by 2 people. They learned that General Motors only had 2 plants that produced the dies from which car parts were stamped, one in Cleveland and the one in Flint. The plan was to trigger simultaneous sit-down strikes. But unfortunately, Cleveland went off a little early after 2 brothers were fired and everyone lost their mind and they decided to sit down early. So the UAW accelerated their plans and refused to settle the Cleveland strike until they had reached a national agreement with GM covering all of their plants. And on December 30th, oh, go ahead.
It's brilliant to use the stakeholders' desire for more money constantly as like the biggest piece of leverage.
Yeah.
This is happening hours after the first one, the Kelsey Hayes. They moved so fast.
That's incredible.
Wow.
So when you say they went like the Cleveland plant goes early, that goes on strike early, you mean by like hours?
No, I'm sorry. They started this process hours after.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was days, but they just were boom, boom, boom. Okay. So on December 30th, the Flint workers shut down the Flint plant in solidarity. This was 6 days after the Kelsey Hayes strike. After the strike started, One of the key organizers was a badass woman named Janora Dollinger, who organized an all-female emergency brigade to physically protect strikers inside the factory.
She wasn't a worker. She just
loved it.
Just a supporter.
Yeah. Was in it for the love of the game.
Yeah. She might have been a worker, but it's not
Absolute
clarified.
Badass, though.
I don't have any more to say about her other than that she rules.
I put together an army of Amazons to protect strikers.
It's incredible. Women were super involved with all of this.
Literally, every big socialist movement or progressive movement of any kind is almost always traced
done on the backs of women. Yes,
they have anything else to do.
Yeah. Okay. I can't. It's not sustainable.
I'm trying to throw flowers.
You need to meet me where I'm at.
I'm coming. I'll get there.
They're gonna start. They don't know you.
It's
gonna stop being sarcastic.
You gotta make me care about these people.
It's not gonna be read as sarcastic.
How many
you say
fingers?
These people, and it's like,
oh my god.
How many fingers do you need? You know what I mean?
Okay. So once the strike had been established in Flint, it set off a domino effect. December 31st, Fisher Body and Chevrolet plant in Norwood, Ohio, workers at the Guide Lamp plant in Anderson, Indiana, conducting simultaneous sit-down strikes. January 4th, a sit-down strike at Toledo in Ohio's Chevy plant. January 5th, a sit-down strike at Chevy and Fisher Body in Janesville. January 8th, a sit-down strike at the 3,800-worker Cadillac plant in Detroit. January 12th, sit-down strike at the Detroit plant in Fleetwood, which was a Cadillac supplier. Around 90 workers began the sit-down and held it off until January 15th. January 13th, a conventional strike at the St. Louis Fisher Body and Chevy plant followed an unsuccessful attempt at a sit-down the prior day. January 25th, reportedly a strike at Oakland, California's Fisher Body and Chevy plant. February 1st, occupation of the Chevy number 4 plant in Flint. And by January 25th, so with strikes ongoing past this, the strike had major secondary effects throughout the General Motors chain of production, leading 50 GM plants to close and suspending work for 150,000 employees nationally.
So all of these were organized by...
No. They were coordinated and there was communication, but it triggered other unions to all get involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in a month, you basically shut down General Motors.
In a month, yeah. So it was organized, but not bodily, physically by Walter each time.
He
designed
like, hey,
all of
we're
this.
Going to do this. And
he got them all to coordinate. He taught them the plan, and they rolled it out one after another.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The public was noticing, and protests in solidarity with strikers were held at the General Motors buildings in New York City and in Detroit.
Oh, it's so nice when that happened.
Yeah.
I was really expecting it to go. I guess they didn't. Henry Ford doesn't own his own newspaper yet.
Not yet. This time, the police responded a little more predictably. They attacked the Flint strikers immediately with tear gas, and they shot 16 people. This is back to Flint, by the way. The strikers responded with ad hoc slingshots, launching hinges, bottles, and bolts at the police, led literally and physically by Roy Reuther, Walter's younger brother.
Roy is really like
Roy's the boy. He's in there.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Shit done.
Exactly.
He's
great.
So wait, is this?
This is back to Flint.
But so it's not the last of the Flint happens pretty early in this series.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that was confusing. So first it's Kelsey Hayes, then it's Flint. I just wanted to take a moment to illustrate that it happened so fast, this launching of other strikes.
Bunch of strikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But right now we're resetting to the Flint strike.
Okay. And so this is the police are attacking these strikers before any of these other strikes had happened.
And also during, because it lasted days and these other ones kicked off as well.
Mm-hmm.
They withstood several waves of attacks from the police, and the incident was dubbed the Battle of the Raging Bulls because people referred to police as bulls at the time. Also at the time, the Vice President of the United States, John Nance Garner, supported federal intervention and was pressuring the president to break up the Flint strike. President Franklin D. Roosevelt rejected it and told him to shut up, and encouraged GM to recognize any union so that the plants would reopen.
It's also insane that those two were running mates.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Didn't they used to do it that way? It was more like you would
pick
run
someone
with
across
someone
the
from
aisle.
across the aisle.
I don't know if that was more typical.
Not like that diametrically opposed.
Yeah. The strike lasted 44 days. The strike at Flint lasted 44 days. When finally GM agreed to bargain with the United Auto Workers, they refused, however, to be in the same room with any UAW representative. So the governor of Michigan, Frank Murphy, acted as a courier and intermediary and actually sent the Michigan National Guard to escort the strikers out, who were still being assaulted by Michigan police.
I just wanted the governor just like knock on knock. Hey guys.
Yeah.
So they say that they're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Can I get anybody anything?
Yeah.
Passing a note back. Are you on strike? Yes, no. Governor of
Michigan.
Michigan.
Just the checkbox. Yes, no. So, with General Motors brought to heel, the first of the big three went down, and the Reuther boys immediately set their sights on Chrysler.
So, in the negotiation, do the strikers get
same template?
A lot more money,
set base pay, equal pay for women, union representation and structure in the corporate workforce as a governing committee, safer work. Actually, no, not safer hazard pay.
No, just slower
speed.
Slower speed.
No.
Yeah. The safety standards come later.
Enough time to get your finger out.
Yeah. 20% reduction, things like that. They're basically using a boilerplate template for arguing this across the board. And that's part of the genius, is that they made each one a
it's a system that you can just repeat.
Yeah. And what is the term? Why am I blanking? It's a precedent that it can be repeated and argued for now. So it gets stronger every time someone capitulates. And by someone, I mean employers. So the following March, which is 1937 now, Walter, Roy, and Victor help organize a strike with 60,000 Chrysler workers. Police immediately attack them again, and Walter helped gather 150,000 sympathetic citizens to march in solidarity and protest in Detroit's downtown Cadillac Square.
Did you say 150,000?
Yeah.
That's
Walter
amazing.
just rallies these people and leads them. Reuther led them in protest by giving speeches, and after a 4-week strike, Chrysler followed GM's lead and negotiated its first collective bargaining agreement with the UAW.
So the employees are in. So this is in Detroit, so a lot of those people probably had sons and daughters and husbands and wives, and
the whole city is like involved in
this. Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that much that he could really rally people to get behind. Everybody knew people who worked there, I'm sure.
That's a good point. Yeah. And finally, we get to the big boys, Henry Ford and Harry Bennett. Now, who is Harry Bennett? I already asked you, but you've never heard of him before, because I hadn't heard of him before. And he's honestly fascinating. But he didn't really build or design anything, unless you consider leveraging his ties to Italian criminal families to create the most terrifying 3,000 man strong security department in corporate history. So we can't really talk about him.
So he created something.
Yeah.
It is sort of the blueprint. I guess.
I'm gonna give you just a quick paragraph. He's fascinating and terrifying. He was Ford's personal enforcer. It's worth noting. Oh, go ahead.
Just the problem with us pulling a sit-in is that our job is just to sit
to
here.
literally sit there.
We don't deserve. We right here do not deserve.
And none of us are getting paid. So Bennett was Ford's right-hand man and personal enforcer. I'm
getting paid.
Who?
Don't worry.
They had a weird father-son relationship thing going on that made Ford's wife Clara so uncomfortable she threatened to divorce him multiple times.
Ford was the son.
No, Henry Ford is quite old at this point.
Wait, his wife was like, "I'm going to divorce you if you don't give yourself some distance from this."
Because at one point when Ford was, it was time for him to move on from the company, Ford planned to make Harry Bennett his sole inheritor of the business.
Oh,
that did not pan out.
Wow.
It's a long story, but Ford had a son named like Ensign or something. I forget his first name. Henry Ford was incredibly critical of, because Henry thought he was weak, and he loved Harry Bennett and angled and positioned it such that Bennett could take the reins. His son died, and his son's widow threatened to sell all of their shares of the company if he made Harry Bennett the inheritor of the business instead. At the same time, Clara threatened to divorce him, so he didn't do it. And he would eventually pass it on to Henry Ford II, which is his grandson. Speaking of which, when Henry Ford eventually took over, Bennett, Ford Sr. attempted to enshrine Harry Bennett as a member of the board of directors, but his first action, Henry Ford II, was to fire Bennett. Thereafter, Bennett took every opportunity for the rest of his life to remind Henry Ford II what a pussy he was. Now, remember how the police shot up 16 people in Flint?
Mm-hmm.
None of those people actually...
Which time?
The first time. None of those people actually died. To Bennett, them's rookie numbers. See, back in 1932, and back in our River Rouge, Detroit Ford facility that we spent some time in earlier, where Reuther first worked, workers attempted to march out of their shift in protest again of that dreaded speed up. It was a big deal. It was killing people all over the place. Bennett met them at the exit of the compound with his men behind him, and a bunch of police officers too, of the city of Dearborn. He immediately shot 5 men to death and injured dozens and dozens more. They just battled them back into the factory and forced them back to work. Bennett famously recruited college football players as strike breakers and would pay them bonuses based on bruised and bloodied knuckles.
The only people a company will pay well are the people to break a strike.
Yes, exactly. At this point, at this era, absolutely.
So they were shot just for trying to leave work.
Yeah.
Trying to go home.
Immediately shot them dead. 5 of them. And then shot dozens more people. They just happened to not die. He pulled up a car and was just firing a .45 pistol out of his window at the crowd.
So he did invent drive-bys.
I don't know if he gets credit for that. He liked him a lot, though. He also wore a fedora. It was a whole thing.
Sounds like a real piece of shit.
He also kept 24/7 surveillance, like other companies did, on any known union organizer. He reported personally and only to Henry Ford every day as his right-hand man and personal henchman. He also kept tigers and lions in his office, where he would meet and fire employees. He handled almost all firing of employees, and he liked to keep big cats in the office with him. He also liked to shoot at a target with his .45 over the workers' heads in his office. He was ridiculous and also very scary. Okay.
He's just a psychopath.
Yeah, he's
just a crazy person.
The story goes, Henry Ford was driving one day and saw him. He was a naval officer, Harry Bennett, and got in a fight on the street. And Henry Ford saw him, called him over. They had a meeting, and Ford said, I want to offer you a job, but I have one question for you first. Quote, can you handle a gun?
It was so easy to get a job.
It was the only qualification.
It was so easy to get a job.
Yep. And he was fiercely loyal to Ford.
Ford was like, I just need someone who's going to just have some tigers and intimidate some people out of having unions.
His loyalty is so easy to get. Like Ford. Ford just like, hey, do you have a gun? He's like, yeah. I just finished fighting a dude in the street. That's it.
Yep.
Loyalty for life.
Yep. Okay, let's get back on track. Henry Ford had famously stated that he would never allow his workers to unionize. Well, barely a month after the Chrysler signing, Walter Reuther attained permission from the city of Dearborn to pass out pamphlets on public property on the pedestrian overpass above Gate 4 of the infamous River Rouge complex.
Public property sounds like a very socialist property.
Jesus. All right. The pamphlets were titled Unionism, Not Fordism, and they were waiting for a shift change to pass them out to workers. Now, Reuther knew Ford's backlash was going to be brutal and kind of scary. So to forestall his aggression, he invited a wide range of observers, clergymen, reporters, photographers, and staffers from local politicians to come witness the event. There were a bunch of photographers taking pictures. See picture. The local 174's Women's Auxiliary was responsible for the passing out of these pamphlets. We don't know this for sure, but it's probable that Reuther thought Ford's lackeys would be less likely to physically assault women in daylight, in public, in front of reporters and cameras.
Were they wrong?
We'll see how that goes.
Are the lines and numbers there for a reason? Are you going to tell us who these people are?
That's just the photo that I was able to find of this moment. That's Reuther. Reuther's number 5 in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
The guy to his right, number 6, is, I think it's Bob Frankenstein.
Mm.
I forget the other two's name. They're all UAW organizers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to learn who the other gentlemen are in a moment.
In fact, everybody.
I love a good watch chain.
Yeah.
Walked around with a number and
it's a great photo because it has the whole Ford Motor Company logo straddling these two groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to learn about what is about to happen.
I'm thinking about getting you one of those watch chains.
The chains, I know, they're great. They're cool.
Not a watch.
I don't want to draw more attention to my midsection though. A photographer of Detroit News named Scotty Kilpatrick asked the UAW leaders for this photo in front of the Ford Motor Company sign.
I wonder where he's from.
Reuther addressed 100 of these women, these pamphleters, on the morning of May 26th, 1937, and gave them armbands, leafleting assignments, and maps designating public and private property. It was very, very, very critically important that they stayed on public property, because if they didn't, Ford had every right to do whatever he was going to do. Reuther dressed for the occasion.
I mean, I know he does practically have every right to do whatever he wants to do because he's a rich guy in a city that he basically owns. But
legally, he's not.
Legally,
he just can't just kill people for walking on.
Except, you know,
they killed their workers aggressively and directly all the time.
So I'm so sorry. So they're no longer, because Harry reacted so aggressively toward they didn't even try a sit-in.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So the plan was I think their goal was to do that, but their motto had always been, or their modus operandi had always been, you had to get in there with the workers first and work quietly and privately. That's why Roy was visiting people in their homes and organizing this. And they had supply chains set up to like deliver food. And so it took a while. So to start, they wanted to do this pamphleting campaign just to kind of gauge and test the water and see. It's worth noting that the River Rouge complex is this 2,000 acre city, and it was rife with like racial divide among the workers, with Freemasons and other unions butting heads. It was incredibly corrupt across the board. There were already, it wasn't as clear cut as like the Chrysler one, or especially not the Kelsey Hayes one, which only had 5,000 people to organize. This was much bigger scale, and Harry Bennett was involved, and everyone was terrified of him.
Was Russo involved in the one where the walkout that Harry Bennett shot a bunch of people? Was Russo involved in organizing that one?
No.
Okay.
That happened earlier. Just
Okay.
organically. Yeah. Correct. So Reuther, dressed for the occasion, wanted it to be a public spectacle, and they took this photo. And here's how this all went down. I'm going to quote from the book, The Most Dangerous Man in Detroit again. Reuther climbed to the top of the Miller Road overpass with Cantor, Frankenstein, and Kennedy, other UAW organizers. They were smiling for the cameramen when 40 men surrounded them. Reuther heard a shout. "This is private property. Get the hell out of here." And then the pummeling began. The attack was led by Sam Taylor and Wilfred Comment. Sam Taylor is 3. Wilfred Comment is 1. Wilfred Comment was a Ford supervisor. Frankenstein and Reuther were the main targets, although the 200-pound Frankenstein got the worst of it because his resistance was so spirited. Reuther described his ordeal a few days later, saying, quote, "I didn't fight back. I merely tried to guard my face. They picked me up about 8 different times and threw me down on my back on the concrete. And while I was on the ground, they kicked me in the face and head and other parts of my body. They kicked me a while, and one fellow would yell, 'All right, let him go now.' And then they would raise me up and hold my arms behind me and begin to hit me some more. They picked my feet up and my shoulders and slammed me down on the concrete. And while I was on the ground, they kicked me again in the face. This went on about 8 times. Finally, they got me next to Dick, who was laying on the bridge, and with both of us together, they kicked us again, and they picked me up and threw me down the first flight of steps." I'm skipping ahead because this goes on for a while. After they kicked me down all the steps, they then started to hit me again at the bottom of the stairs, slugging me, driving me before them, but never letting me get away. The more we tried to leave, the worse it was for us. And all that time, I had the permit to distribute the leaflets in my pocket, but no one would look at that.
Oh, you still think it's about that?
Yeah. No, I don't think he did, but yeah.
Yeah, he had to have the permit so he could say I was allowed to be there. When
Meanwhile,
they beat me.
I mean, he knew, this was shocking, but they were prepared for something, but not this. Meanwhile, along Miller Road, the elimination of the Union leaders hardly ended the assault. As the women tried to get off the streetcars, servicemen blocked their exits, shoving, punching, and kicking them. Kathleen Gels, the head of the local 174 auxiliary, traded punches with a Ford goon.
Yeah, she did.
And the Turnstedt communist Tony Marinovich suffered a permanently disabling skull fracture. This is still part of the quote. Some leafleters were beaten up blocks from the factory. In all, scores of men and women were injured. Now, Ford's officials had enough sense to know that photographs of this incident were going to be devastating. So Bennett had his men round up all the photographers and the media and destroy their film.
Yep. Perfectly legal, perfectly normal.
Well,
this is just a regular company doing regular company things.
Yeah.
When do we get to talk about Ford being a Nazi?
Yeah.
We're not talking about Ford today.
I'm just thinking it's always important to bring that up anytime we talk about Ford.
Yeah, he was a Nazi. Well, he was Nazi leaning.
He was so Nazi that the Nazis
I
gave
know,
him,
but the
like,
Nazis
best
are
Nazi medal.
Oh.
Oh my!
Oh, look at him.
So Ford and Bennett were a little short-sighted, and Reuther, notwithstanding the tail between his legs, had the last laugh. The mistreatment of the press and the sheer audacity of the attack made the journalists all the more committed to spreading this story. Now, remember that photographer I mentioned, Scotty Kilpatrick?
Mhm.
That dude hid the plates of those photographs, these photographs that we're seeing, in the backseat of his car. And when he was demanded that he destroy them, he handed empty plates over to the goons. And he snuck the real pictures and launched the story the next day. News spread like wildfire, and public outrage against Ford boosted UAW membership almost tenfold. Times Magazine picked up and published the photos, and Ford retaliated by withdrawing all advertising from Time, Life, and Fortune magazines. But the damage was already done. Yeah. It did take another 4 years of growing UAW membership and mounting public pressure, but ultimately Ford would come to the table. In 1941, after Harry Bennett reportedly fired 8 union employees in one day, the entire
Fired
workforce...
Fired.
Yeah. The entire
Come look at my
workforce...
cats.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The entire workforce walked out in a wildcat strike. Do you know what that means?
No.
So a wildcat strike just means one that the union wasn't prepared for or didn't organize. It's just a heat of the moment kind of thing. But, and they usually go very badly.
Yeah.
But the UAW, with Walter Reuther at the forefront, was ready. They organized a 10-day strike blockading the plant. It was Henry Ford's wife, Clara, finally, maybe the real hero in the story, who finally urged Henry to come to the table. And the old bastard capitulated hard. He made concessions even beyond the union's demands, because at this point, public opinion of Ford was so negative, he was trying desperately to claw it back. He agreed that Ford would be a closed shop, meaning all employees had to be union members, allowing union dues to be deducted from payroll and sent directly to the union. This is the guy who famously said, "I will never allow
He's
my
been
work."
killing people about this.
Uh-huh.
And his wife is like,
He folded hard.
"Honey, it's time." And he's like, "All right, now we're all union."
I want to be clear. She did that because they were more than likely going to lose everything.
Yeah,
as people stop buying their cars. Yeah.
As it gets increasingly worse, there's also the ever increasing chance of your home getting fireballed.
Yeah. It was getting more
if
violent.
Henry Ford was the only one home.
Great. Yeah. So he also promised to match the highest wages in the industry. And finally, he had to abolish his much hated security service department, Harry Bennett. And that is where we wrap up the main focus of this story tonight. But I want to talk about the rest of Walter Reuther's life because he never stopped fighting. So we're going to do this kind of quickly. In 1940, this is before the Ford signing, and in the second year of World War II, the U.S. was struggling to produce supplies, specifically planes, to help Britain. It was Walter Reuther, who at this time was still just a local leader and president of a United Auto Workers chapter, proposed the Reuther plan, the 500 planes a day plan. Reuther proposed to transform the entire unused capacity of the auto industry into one huge plane production unit capable of turning out 500 planes a day. In January 1941, Walter Reuther met with President Roosevelt at the White House. Ford, Chrysler, and GM all fought this idea tooth and nail. They hated it.
We know why Ford.
But the Reuther plan went into effect after Pearl Harbor. Reuther told the big three leaders that they were going to massively profit from this initiative anyway, which turned out to be right, as all three companies made hundreds of billions of dollars. In 1946, Reuther was elected as the president of the United Auto Workers, finally.
Did they not have a president before 1940?
No, they did. But
somebody else was doing.
Yeah, but Reuther was doing all of this from his local chapter. The UAW was doing other stuff. They had a presence everywhere. They were just weak, and it took this coordinated effort to get them power. So there was probably
years where the local chapter run by Reuther was more powerful than the national.
Certainly. Yeah. And there's another whole story that could be talked about just in terms of the politics of the United Auto Workers, because everyone was accusing him of being a communist the whole time. And there were all these like cultural, racial divides, and Reuther had to spend so much energy and effort just getting them to work together on their side to even be a union before getting other people to. It's incredible.
frustrating.
It is so frustrating. So Reuther negotiated contracts that included unprecedented standard of living increases for automobile workers, such increases include annual raises based on productivity advances, cost of living increases, supplementary and unemployment benefits, and early retirement options, and health and welfare benefits. Other industries soon followed this template, pushed by their own unions. In 1950, Reuther proposed that the United States establish a voluntary agency for young Americans to be sent around the world and fulfill humanitarian and development objectives. It took 10 years, but then he founded the Peace Corps with John F. Kennedy. He marched alongside Martin Luther King Jr. at Selma, Birmingham, Montgomery, and Jackson, and he raised $160,000 personally to pay for the release of King and other protesters from the Birmingham jail, from which Martin Luther King Jr. penned the famous letter from Birmingham jail. On August...
Well, why did he let him leave?
Yeah.
He was such a good piece of writing.
On August 19...
He could have got a sequel.
In August 1963, Reuther helped organize and finance the March on Washington. And on August 28th, Reuther addressed the crowd just minutes before Martin Luther King Jr. gave the I Have a Dream speech. He served on the board of directors for the NAACP. And the UAW, at his direction, gave $75,000 to finance Thurgood Marshall and the NAACP in the Brown v. Board of Education case. In 1965, the UAW organized a United Action for Clean Water conference in Detroit, which led to the creation of Earth Day. He also financed a bunch of conservation efforts that actually did stuff. Guys, we don't have time. The dude was a G. He was all around G. He had a hand in so many different things.
Say anything.
I know, I know. I just meant by no, that was not to you. I just mean there's so many more things that he was involved with and helped organize, and was rarely ever the face of, but just was involved in all over the place. Now, as you might imagine, living a life like this, constantly organizing and bucking the system, mobilizing people, uniting across racial divides, and literally laying the foundation of the golden age of the American middle class, has some drawbacks. So we are entering a new segment called A Quick Note on Assassination Attempts. All the way back in 1938, after GM and Chrysler, but before Ford folded, two masked gunmen attempted to kidnap Walter Reuther at a party. One guest managed to flee and alert the police. The men were arrested, and it was found that they had ties to Harry Bennett. Bennett told the press that Reuther staged the whole thing, and it was a publicity stunt. The men went to jail, and nothing more came of it. 10 years later, in 1948, a double-barreled shotgun blasted through Reuther's kitchen window. Reuther happened to have turned to talk to his wife, and he took the blast to his arm and back instead of his chest. 4 slugs shattered his arm into 150 pieces. Another pierced his back and came out his stomach.
Oof.
He remained conscious and ran to his next-door neighbor, who was a doctor, who did impromptu surgery on his kitchen floor. Reuther was quoted as saying, "Those dirty sons of bitches, they have to shoot a man in the back. They won't come out in the open and fight." The assailant fled, it's worth noting, in a bright red Ford sedan. The police
You couldn't
said.
have bought a different car.
Yeah.
Don't kill this guy. Go assassinate him, but you have to get a Ford to do it. Henry will be so mad if you take a Chrysler.
Yeah. When the Attorney General, Tom Clark, requested that J. Edgar Hoover get the FBI to investigate this shooting, Hoover refused,
Volunteered to shoot him himself.
stating, "I'm not going to send in the FBI every time some N-word woman gets raped." That was J. Edgar Hoover's response. He's the biggest piece of shit in the world.
There have been this particular story features a lot of pieces of shit. It's hard to pick the biggest one.
No,
it's Hoover.
No.
He's up there. Okay. The shooting was never solved nor investigated.
Yeah, I know it would. No, I'm sorry. Correction. It was never investigated. It was solved.
Yeah. 13 months after that attack, Walter's brother Victor was shot by a double-barreled shotgun through his living room window. He was hit in the face, throat, and chest. His right eye was shot out of his head. He survived. Quote, from the brothers Reuther. The attack on me was a way of serving notice to Walter. We didn't get you yet, but we're still here. Well, so what? So are we. Awesome.
Fucking bad boys.
Yeah. This shooting, too, was never solved. In the wake of both shootings, Eleanor Roosevelt wrote...
We know that they're wild shotguns that just roam the land.
Yeah, floating angry shotguns.
Yeah, they see a person standing through a window like, got a blast.
Yeah. Could have been a deer or a rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the wake of both shootings, Eleanor Roosevelt wrote, "It seems unthinkable that the police have never been able to discover who shot Walter Reuther, and because of that, in all probability, the same person perhaps has felt that he could get away with shooting another brother. We have a right to protect men who are working in the interests of their fellow men." And finally, and also unfortunately, Walter Reuther and his wife Mary, alongside Reuther's bodyguard named William Wolfman, great name for a bodyguard.
That's a fantastic name. In fact, I'm going to change my name to William Wolfman.
William, just fully William Wolfman. Also, architect Oscar Stonerov boarded a chartered Learjet. The plane crashed in flames at 9:33 p.m. on May 9th, 1970. All passengers and its two pilots died. The National Transportation Safety Board stated that the plane's altimeter was missing parts. Or is it altimeter? I don't know. Was missing parts. Some incorrect parts were installed, and one of its parts had even been installed upside down, leading many to speculate that Reuther may have been murdered, though this was never investigated by the police. I have no idea how to summarize this man's legacy. In researching him, you get the impression that he had a hand in everything that made America great. He was a truly decent man through and through. He was once gifted a wooden fist with a middle finger raised because he never swore except that one time he got shot. His coworkers at the Union encouraged him to gesture at the statue whenever meetings with employers got heated. He and his wife Mary had two daughters. They lived frugal lives. As Union president, Walter could have commanded a very high salary, but he refused to ever take more than the median salary of an auto worker and was mostly paid around $30,000 a year. He gave us a template and taught that workers' rights, racial injustice, equal rights for the sexes are all very much the same fight. Now, we used to strike a lot in this country. Between the end of World War II in 1945 and the start of the Reagan administration in 1981, there were between 200 and 400 major work-stopping strikes per year. Reagan killed all of that when he turned the government against the Air Traffic Controllers Union, but we don't have time. There have only been a few hundred...
Maybe a bigger piece of shit than Jag.
Yeah. There have only been a few hundred major work stoppages in the United States since 1993. And in that time, we've all seen wage stagnation, wage theft, and the strangling and death of unions, and the purported death of the middle class. So I'd like to end by saying this. We deserve dignity and respect for our labor, but if history has taught us anything, is that we have to rip it out of our employers to get it. That's all I got.
That's incredible.
This is a great...
Everybody should go on strike all the time.
I mean, kind of, yeah. And we've been doing
it. That's not a joke. Everybody should absolutely go on strike all the time.
It's the only way to advance anything.
Look at what the French do over anything.
Yeah. It's the best.
They have the most beautiful city in the world and they will not hesitate to burn it down.
I love that their firefighters routinely go to war with their police officers in the street.
I have so many more thoughts and opinions on this whole story.
Yeah.
It's a wild one.
This is a great example of, we're not always going to talk about people that we like or agree with.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of that.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
You really got me.
I just wow.
Sometimes we have to talk about people who did big things and change the world, maybe in ways that, might not be for the best.
Oh,
but
my Lord. Yeah. Well, there you go, Walter Reuther.
There's a reason he's not remembered.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the exact same reason why you still have this picture of him with King.
Yeah.
Where his philosophy took him later in life before he was assassinated. the same reason all of that is always ignored by most textbooks.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because like a lot of his achievement is not sexy. You know, it's like he just did a lot of grunt work talking to people and negotiating but that's why I wanted to focus on one thing, which was like just this accelerated national strike that was this like coordinated effort that just worked. It broke this whole massive established industry.
It proves that you can, like, it proves that it can work, and it always can.
Yeah.
But you can't let people know that it works,
and
because then they might do it again.
And he knew that historically, the way unions have always, and any organized labor effort throughout history, including at like the Battle of Blair Mountain with the coal strikers, the way you break coordinated effort is to pit the white folks against the black folks. And if the employers can convince the white workers that it's the black folks who are making things worse for them, and they simply do that usually by saying, don't you think you deserve better work than those guys do? And they go, you're right. Yeah. And they go home and they go back to work. It's how they broke every movement. So like the fact that he was so active socially and racially throughout all of that, like really spoke to, that's why I want to spend so much time talking about Valentine, because it really was instilled in them at an early age that like they're the same thing. They're the same
Absolutely
fight.
Gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a G.
I hope that if just a large portion of our community is expected to work in a place where they're just losing limbs as just like a regular part of their work, that we will band together and go down there and punch some guards in the face while getting off of a trolley. I hope that that's true.
I think we still have an appetite for that kind of thing. I mean, a lot of people did it for actors
in Pittsburgh.
A
certainly,
couple of years ago. You know,
Pittsburgh certainly has a long history of punching people in the face.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a staging ground for a lot of the end of the 1800s, this activity. But yeah, there you go. The guy who kind of made the middle class and doesn't get credit for it.
Because you want to read your...
Oh yeah, just real quick. The references are The Most Dangerous Man in Detroit by Nelson Lichtenstein,
probably.
The Life and Times of Walter Reuther, An Unfinished Liberal Legacy by James Ten Eck. And The Brothers Reuther and the Story of the United Auto Workers by his brother Victor Reuther. Okay, let's wrap this up. How do we end this? Okay, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.